Why do I look like Squilliam?
Gusta Janice, I don't know how you even pronounce that. She's a slut. She's this pro-feminist, blah, 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 blah. She's a good-looking girl, man. She's beautiful. But, dude, not worth it. Stay away from this girl. Stay away from this woman. She is dangerous to your health.
Today we're going to talk about pretty privilege. Is it real? What is it? Well, basically pretty privilege is the fact that people who are generally more attractive and fit the current beauty standard that society has placed upon us. If you fit those standards, you are more likely to be successful and do well in life based on purely your looks. Like you have certain advantages that other people don't because you are good looking. Abba and Preach actually made a video about this, I think 2 or 3 days ago, and I wanted to add my own 2 cents while also going over the TikTok videos that they have in that video.
Tell me you have pretty privilege without actually telling me that you have pretty privilege.
Oh, I have a story. So when I was 22, I randomly moved to LA with no plan, no clue where I was going to live, nothing. I get down there and I ask one of my girlfriends if she wants to hang out. So while we're hanging out, we get to chatting and she goes, hey, why don't you just live with me in the model house for the summer? And I didn't know what that was at the time, but all it is a mansion in the hills where models get to live there rent-free, and in exchange, they just have to go to clubs twice a week and look cute. That's it. They Uber you there, you look cute, you stand around usually, and then you go home.
You have to understand, these girls, and the girl that's talking, she's not even sleeping with nobody. She's not paid to sleep with nobody. It's just that whenever you have a club, okay, you want to have beautiful women because that's going to attract men, because that's a man that's going to pay bottles and pay things and spend money in your club. It's like, you know, you want to have good looking strippers in your club so that they bring money in it. It's the same thing, but these girls are not strippers. They're just there to, they're basically furniture. They're furniture that look good.
Yeah, well, I'm not disagreeing with that. It's like a business. It's a business trade. You come here for free. And by having your presence here, you are basically advertising and promoting my club. As well as that, everyone knows that girls love posting on their social media. So, of course, if I'm going to an exclusive club or event, I'm going to be posting on my Snapchat story. I'm going to be posting on my Instagram story. Obviously, a lot of these pretty girls have a lot of followers. So these businesses are smart in the sense that they're getting free advertising from these beautiful women that come to their events and their clubs.
I told you, let's go to that club. The furniture is nice. That's what it is. They're paid to look good. They're just paid to be there because they increase the value of the club.
I'm personally not paid to be there. I just get invited. A lot of these girls aren't paid to be there. They just get invited. The promoter will just be like, hey, you want to come here? Come in with me. And then it's basically this guy promoter and like 7 hot girls walking with him into the event for free. So a lot of these girls aren't paid. But regardless, this business deal is a great trade.
Listen, some of these girls don't. A lot of them do. They do extra work, okay? All these mansions, for a lot of them, it's not free.
I'm taking off my glasses. I see the reflection of, like, the fucking light, and it's just not. Okay. Yes, a lot of these girls probably do have to do something a little more to get these kinds of things. But for the most part, I will say, like, for example, me and a lot of my friends, we get these experiences without having to do anything sexual. For example, when I was on the Fresh and Fit podcast, I briefly mentioned that me and my sister were flown out to LA, round trip paid for, hotel paid for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner paid for, excursions paid for, just because that this movie producer saw my sister and was like, wow, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful. And just because that she was beautiful, he wanted us to stay in his multi-million-dollar mansion. He took us all around Beverly Hills, Hollywood. In the end, most of these men do want something out of it. We made it very clear that that wasn't what we were trying to do. But regardless, a lot of people kind of judge about this kind of stuff. But like, if someone was to offer you a free fucking round trip somewhere, would you not take it? And then some drama happened and we ended up leaving. But yeah, overall, it was a great fucking time.
And sometimes it's not even direct. They're like, why don't you just come back over me? We need to talk. They know what time it is. They want to stay in that mansion. They want to have a good time. They want to meet the guys from Gossip Girl. Okay?
That's true. We do want to have a good time and like go all these places. But the second that you're like, you need a open your legs or something like that, I'm out. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how many private jets you own. I don't care how many cars, luxury cars you drive. As soon as you ask me for something sexual, I'm gonna go. Sorry, like, I don't need those things to the extent where I am giving up my body for in exchange for like materialistic items and experiences. That's just honestly, I'm not judging anyone who does, like, you do you, but like, that's just not me.
And you live there rent-free just because of your beauty.
And you probably could have lived there longer if you were willing to do more work.
Okay, so yeah, for sure, that's a privilege. Being able to live rent-free in a very bougie, expensive area, like, wow, that's privilege for sure. But the way he mentions if you just did a little more work, it's not really, unless you're a prostitute, then yeah, I guess you could call it work. But for a lot of women, like, that's not a really easy thing to do. Like, giving up your body in exchange for living somewhere rent-free, like, it sounds easy, but it's really not. That's like me asking a guy, be like, hey, like, would you do anal with another guy if he gave you a place to live 3 months rent-free? You know, like, really think about that. Would you really want to do it? Think about giving your body to someone that you don't find attractive, you don't really are interested in them. Like, it's not.
Yep.
So just be mindful of that when people talk about what this thing means.
It's real.
It's real.
It exists.
Forget paying for
100%.
drinks all night. I've seen people have their tuitions paid and not even on.
Here's the thing about the drinks situation. I personally, the more drinks that you're getting, the more drunk you're getting. The more drunk you're getting, the easier it's going to be to hook up with that girl because she is becoming less and less conscious. So in that sense, it's not really that crazy of a privilege. The girls getting free drinks thing, it's not as common as you would think. Like, yes, obviously, like, I've gone out to bars and clubs and I have gotten free drinks, but it's not like in every single time I show up at the bar or club, I'm going to be getting a free drink. Like, it's just like, you know, here and there, whatever. But let's not forget how many girls are drugged when guys offer free drinks. Like, it's a very scary thing.
I seen a girl get on the phone and just talk to a dude, and this guy PayPal'd her thousands of dollars just because
This is true.
She said, "You little dirty." She started talking shit to him.
Yeah.
I know a guy. There was once a guy who had a kink. He likes when girls make fun of him. I don't know where this kink stems from. I think it comes from some sort of childhood trauma or something. But these guys love when pretty girls are just absolute bitches to them. So I got paid to make fun of him. I got paid somewhere between $50 and $100 to make fun of something and just like make him feel like shit, and boom, $100 in my Venmo account.
Understand, it doesn't mean that everyone who's pretty and attractive doesn't deal with stuff. I 100% acknowledge that as an attractive woman who maybe wants to just chill, it is annoying to walk around and have dudes constantly.
I am so happy that they mentioned this. Like, it's so important to also mention the downsides, because this is the reason why men are like, oh, girls have it easy, women live such an easy life, is because people talk about pretty privilege and like, oh, you get free drinks, you do this. Like, girl, no. Like, my life is not easy just because I face a few perks of being conventionally attractive. Getting a drink for free is not like some sort of, wow, like, you're so privileged. Like, okay, that drink was probably like $5 to $10. Like, it's really not that deep. Obviously, when it comes to like houses and like free rent, like, that's, you know, bigger, and barely any women have that opportunity. That's like a very once in a lifetime kind of thing. That's why all these pretty girls you see are still paying for rent, because it's not that common for a guy to go up to someone and be like, you're pretty, here's free rent. Like, that's just not how it works.
After you, constantly sexualizing you from a young age and getting on your case, I will never deny that dark side exists.
Like, this is so important. This is so important that they're talking about this.
It would be very hard if you like want to be a principled person who's also attractive and you have to deal with all this unnecessary nonsense.
It's not your fault.
People not actually wanting to be your friend, but being close to you just because you're attractive.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Thank you. Shout out to these guys for bringing this up. This is so, so important. I was catcalled since I was like 10 or 11 years old. I'm talking about me walking from like elementary school, middle school back home, and cars would roll down their windows and be like, hey, ma, woo, like all this fucking shit. And I was like 10 or 11 years old. Like, that's really fucked up. That's not okay at all. I was catcalled more from the ages of 10 to 16, 17 years old than I am getting catcalled right now, which is really crazy to see you're always objectified, you're always sexualized. And a lot of the times, most men keep you around as a friend because they are hoping that one day you will hook up with them. And honestly, coming to that realization was kind of heartbreaking. It was not a good feeling to feel. This realization occurred to me, I think, a year or 2 years ago when I was like, if I think about it, all the male friends that I have right now, if I went up to them and I was like, I want to hook up with you, I don't think any single one of them would reject me. And to me, that was like kind of like, well, I don't like that, because vice versa, if these men came up to me and was like, I want to hook up with you, I'd be like, no, like, you know, like, we're just friends. Like, what are you talking about? But for them, they would still take that opportunity. It's so rare for a woman to have a male friend that isn't looking for anything out of this woman other than just her friendship, her time, like her company. It's just so sad. Like, women are truly just looked at as sexual objects for your pleasure and not as human beings, which is, I hope that changes soon.
Yeah, there is.
I acknowledge that being pretty isn't always perfect,
but it exists. The privilege is here, and it's real.
Yes.
And you don't want to be ugly instead of attractive.
Oh, well, so you wouldn't get the same privilege.
And that's why I change it higher.
There is this network of apps that are essentially beauty passes. So if you're a model or just like a pretty girl or an influencer, you can apply to get in. They're like exclusive, so not everyone gets accepted, but you apply to get in. And if you get in, there's a shit ton of businesses, restaurants, like massages, facials,
I'll show you these apps. I have them.
Whatever, haircuts, everything, yoga classes, Pilates, everything.
Well, so the first one I have, this one's really great. It's called Beauty Pass. So in order to, well, I'm screen recording, but in order to get this application, you need to be signed to a modeling agency, and they do like a verification. You have to put in your agency and all this information, whatever. But basically, here's all the cities where you can get free shit. I don't utilize this as often as I would want to, but so here we have all categories. We have food. So here, for example, Bebitos Cafe. So you get a choice of a pastry and a coffee. Just by posting on your Instagram, either on the story or the feed, you have to tag Bebito Cafe and include yourself in the post. Tipping is mandatory. Well, I go to this cafe, they gave me a coffee, they gave me a pastry. What I would do is I would just be like, you know, little boomerang, whatever. I tag them, that's it. So, ooh, Turkish baths, complimentary admission. I might do that. But yeah, that's a look into those apps. I don't really have much to show, so I will just put myself in the frame. Besides the pros of pretty privilege, I think it's also important to address the cons of pretty privilege. A con of pretty privilege would be unwanted and dangerous attention from men in positions of power, especially in the modeling industry. And I've been modeling for 5 years, and I've never had a bad experience. Up until, I think, a month ago was the first experience that I had that was like, I cried about it. It wasn't fun. So a lot of women who do have pretty privilege, they also face the consequences of being groped, molested, assaulted, raped, stalked. I was stalked. That was one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever had in my fucking life. I'll probably do another video going over in detail about that story time. It's literally on the fucking news. It was, I still have PTSD to this day because of that incident. I also think that because of my pretty privilege, I was constantly trying to prove to other people that I was smart. I think there's a correlation between attractiveness and like how you view people in the sense of like their IQ and their intelligence. Like, for example, I have this bias within myself, and I am conscious of it. I am aware of it. And that is that when I see a beautiful blonde woman, I generally think that they're not that bright. And I don't know why I think that way. I don't know what sort of media that I don't know if it's the media that I'm consuming that had made me think that way, or like maybe from like stereotypical things in movies and stuff. But because I'm aware of it now, I'm working on it. And obviously attractive people are not stupid, but I think that's a general misconception about, you know, pretty blonde girls or just pretty people in general, is that usually they're not that smart. Weird. I don't know why we made that stereotype. I think that we're all smart enough to understand that being attractive does have its perks and benefits. So let's go over a couple studies. So this thing is called the halo effect. So the halo effect is a kind of bias that makes us form a general impression of someone based on one particular trait. This cognitive bias starts as early as infancy. So this isn't something that we're like programmed to do. It's like innate within us because they did studies on infants. So this particular study examined babies as young as just 1 day old. Girl, these babies are fresh out the womb. And they were shown pairs of photographs featuring faces that adults had rated as attractive and less attractive. The researchers discovered that almost all of the babies spent more time staring at the photo of the attractive face than they did the less attractive one. Another study performed on elementary school students found that students perceived attractive teachers to be nicer and happier, while the opposite with the less attractive teachers. They thought that the less attractive teachers were going to be the meaner teachers that punished them more. It should be noted that this bias was equal between male and female students. They both had more positive perceptions of attractive teachers based on photographs alone. So this does show that pretty privilege doesn't necessarily only apply to women, because clearly these students, both male and female, both had this bias. So that means that women also have this bias towards attractive men. Just putting that out there. Attractive people earn 3 to 4% more than their peers. This is from the University of Texas. Attractive workers are wrongly considered more able by employers. This is from a Harvard study. Women who wear glamorous makeup are seen as more competent and likable than less attractive women without makeup. Another Harvard study. Teachers give good-looking high school students better grades than their peers. University of Miami study. Attractive real estate brokers make 12% more money than their peers. And this comes from the Tennessee State University study. I do accept the fact that I am very privileged. I'm saying it right now. I am privileged because I am white, because I am straight, and because I am cisgendered. I acknowledge my privileges. It's really that simple. Is my life hard? Yes, regardless of the fact that I just like Abba and Priest said, you still do face hardships. And luckily for me, my hardships don't come from my race. They don't come from my sexuality. They don't come from my religion. Some of my hardships, though, they do come from sexism and misogyny. That's something that you face as a woman growing up. For example, when I was a girl growing up, I always heard coaches, teachers, people of authority being like, talking to guys being like, don't hit like a girl. Oh, you run like a girl. Don't cry like a girl. And obviously as a little girl, I was like, what's so bad about hitting like a little girl? What's so bad about crying like a little girl? Why is that bad? And that honestly made me have internal misogyny up until the age of probably 20 or 21. For example, I refused to wear pink. I said, no, I'm never wearing pink, gross, ew, disgusting. And that's because pink is associated with femininity. It's associated with women. And growing up as a child, I noticed that women were not respected as much as boys were. So I wanted to fit in with the boys. I wanted to be respected. I wanted to be seen as powerful and strong, just like the boys, because don't hit like a girl, don't cry like a girl. It had that connotation that we're weak. So obviously I didn't want to associate myself with something that's weak. So I refused to wear pink. I refused to play with dolls. I refused to do girly things in fear that I would be perceived as weak. I was like, why did I hate the color pink so much? Internal misogyny, thanks to the patriarchy and misogyny, which is still installed in our fucking heads. So obviously with my privileges, my black and brown sisters face a lot more hardships being a person of color and a woman. Y'all, mad props to you guys. Sending you so much love if you happen to be watching. We consider being white a privilege, correct? We consider being straight a privilege, correct? This is a fact, by the way. I'm not even asking you to argue or dispute me. This is a fact. There's no such thing as reverse racism, and if you're white and believe that reverse racism is real, natural selection will get to you. That's it. I'm white, and I know that reverse racism is not real. That is the biggest joke I've ever heard in my entire life. Being white has its privileges, correct? Correct. What are the disadvantages of being white? There don't seem to be any. We are privileged to be straight because we are not judged for our sexual preferences. For example, gay marriage is still not legal in some states. So we are blessed to be straight, and we are privileged to be straight. So what are the downsides of being straight? I'll wait. There are none. But here we have pretty privilege. There's obviously pros, but this seems to be the only privilege that has cons to it. As long as pretty privilege comes with the male gaze, being objectified, street harassment, abuse, assault, and grape, not being taken seriously, and women tearing each other down, it's a shitty privilege. Just because I point out the downsides of pretty privilege does not mean that I am ungrateful for my privileges. I am very grateful to be conventionally attractive based on the beauty standards that is popular right now. Just because you enjoy the advantages of your appearance does not mean that you have to accept the disadvantages. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. Yes, pretty privilege is real. Yes, I benefit from pretty privilege, but it's a shitty privilege. It's probably the shittiest privilege that you can have because it has its cons. And until those cons are eradicated, it's not really a privilege. I don't know if I worded that correctly, but hopefully you get what I'm putting down. Getting free drinks at the club or being groped in the street? Which one do I choose? I think it's pretty obvious that I would rather not be sexually harassed, not be raped, not be groped, not be molested than get free drinks at the club. Priorities, I just rather not be traumatized versus getting a free drink. Like here, trauma for being pretty, trauma. Oh, but wait, it's a privilege. Free vodka soda, free margarita, free mojito, free show at the club. You get to see, who's a performer? You get to see Bad Bunny for free. I'd rather have none of those privileges than the side of the dark side that comes with it. If I'm going to talk about something, I want to offer a solution. So here's some solutions. Getting rid of pretty privilege is quite simple, honestly. First, we need to let go of the whole concept of the importance of beauty. For example, if you are pretty, there is so much pressure put on you to stay pretty. If you're not pretty, there's so much pressure for you to become pretty. Plastic surgery. Plastic surgery is on the rise more than ever before. Makeup, all this stuff. People are going to plastic surgeons and showing them Snapchat filters. Instead of obsessing over appearance, focus on traits that actually matter. There is no correlation between looks, character, or IQ. Tell people that they are fun to be around. So when you go compliment someone, compliment them on anything other than their physical appearance. Girl, my Instagram DMs are constantly filled with, you're so pretty, you're so beautiful, blah, 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 blah. And thank you, I appreciate it. I like the compliments, I love them. But you know what? Compliments that compliment my intellect, my personality, anything other than my looks touch my heart so much more. There was also a woman who actually spoke out that she had a baby, right? She will dress up her little girl in trucks, blue, whatever. So when she meets strangers, the first thing they think of about the baby is that it's a boy because of the way that the boy dresses. And the first thing that they always say when the little girl is dressed like a boy is, oh, he's gonna be so strong, he's gonna be so smart, he's gonna be so successful. And then as soon as this mother puts on a little pink pajamas for her baby and takes it out in public and a stranger comes up to her, the first thing that they say about the girl baby, oh, she's gonna be so beautiful, she's gonna be gorgeous. Notice the difference between how we compliment men and how we compliment women. When we compliment women, we only compliment them on their looks, starting from the age of straight out the womb. This baby is fresh out the vagine and people are already, she's gonna be so pretty, she's gonna be a princess. You see how we compliment men on valuable traits. Let's also give those kinds of compliments to women. There just needs to be a balance. Men need to be complimented on their looks, point out their accomplishments and what makes them great people. If we focus on the inside instead of the outside, we can eradicate all the ugliness that pretty privilege evokes. Thanks so much for watching, and like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what other sort of topics interest you.